We have voice acting 101 here. So if you are interested in voice acting, beginner, kind of beginner, midway through, whatever it is, this is a great panel for you. We have Chris, Grant, and Marquise. Marquise will be moderating. They will be answering questions at the end, but also going over just kind of like the basics of getting started in the voiceover industry. So take it away, guys. You can introduce yourselves. Marquise, you can have the honor of picking on whoever you want to go first and go right ahead.
All right. Well, not to be the guy, but I'll go first just to make it easier. Hi, I'm Marquiz Moore. I am a remote voiceover actor. I do commercials, video games, podcasts, you name it. Uh, been in it for like 4 years strong so far and had some success and still working on my journey. I will pass it along to Grant.
Hi, my name is Grant Corvin. I'm also a VA, doing a kind of lot of fields, mostly video games, but also animation and film dubbing, a little bit of narration, trailer work. Those are probably my main forte there.
Hi,
Yeah.
I am Chris. I'm Chris McCullough. I've been doing this off and on for about 10 years, mostly commercials and video games. I'm trying to get more into animation myself. Biggest video game series I've worked on to date is Class of '09 and Five Nights at Freddy's.
Ooh, fancy. We'll get to like which character you
Nice.
play in later.
Okay.
So obviously we're here because this is 101 voice act intro to voice acting. We all have an interest. We all have our reasons. What got you guys into voice acting? We'll start with Chris.
Bounce back to me.
What was your big
Yeah.
like this is my calling?
Well, I've been a multi-performer pretty much all my life, doing stand-up comedy and stage acting, improvisational acting. I was living out in Los Angeles in the 2010s, and I had just given up on stand-up comedy, and I thought, why don't I do voices? Why don't I try looking into voice acting aside from stage acting and film acting, which I was doing, and I took a class at Edge Studio out in LA, and it just sort of blossomed from there. My liking to want to learn more on it.
And what about you, Mr. Grant?
I mean, I've always, I think, been into acting like ever since I was a kid. Like I did, some theater work in my school, some of the smaller productions nearby, all the way up through college. But just loving animation, I always wanted to kind of get into voice acting. And, I kind of more recently, like after the pandemic hit, I think that's when I decided to like really super seriously try to like full dive into it. And yeah, I've been loving every minute of it.
Yeah, I could agree more. Me personally, it's I'm a big Looney Tunes head. I watched this when I was a kid. And when I learned, again, you're naive as a kid, you don't know. It's like, wait, I can do this as a living. I can make silly voices and potentially make money. That was the main jumping point. And I most of our jumping point either is from cartoons or anime or something cool because it's like, hey, why why can't I do something that piques my interest? So in this field, how much or what kind of research did you guys do before getting into voice acting? Whether it be like classes or knowing up the nuances, microphones, like what was that starting point for you guys?
I can go. Well, I actually did take theater arts in college, so I had a lot of understanding of like businesses and how works and how everything works. When I got interested in wanting to do voice acting, like I said, I joined Edge Studio and took some of their classes over there, and that's where I got a broader understanding of everything, like you were just mentioning, like techniques, vocal styles, equipment, and marketing and stuff like that.
And with these classes,
Mhm.
and I didn't mean to cut you off there, sorry. With
No,
these
no.
classes, do you feel that it's important to understand these classes? Because it's voice acting, so would you put the acting aspect over the voices or vice versa?
Well, at the end of the day, it is still acting, even though you're doing voices. So yes, having some education is going to be really, really beneficial for you.
Alright, cool. And then what about you, Grant?
Well, first, like in the beginning, it was mostly just kind of practicing, because like,
Mm.
say, even though I'd done acting, I mostly did things like either machinima or fan dubs and, trying to get my practice there. But I'd say I really started kind of doing more research once I got into college. And I remember I took my first class with Tony Oliver, and that's where I
Ooh.
learned a lot of, I think, the techniques that kind of like carried over just because, I mean, he's a legend in the business. Like I was a huge fan of him as Rick Hunter in Robotech. And, it was like, one of my idols I get to learn from one of my idols. Hooray!
And, it definitely is important for everyone. It's like, acting is a big aspect in voice acting. As much as I mentioned before, yeah, silly voices are great, but you have to understand the acting aspect of it, especially with your own voice. A lot of people, including myself, like, "Why do I wanna use my own voice? I don't like my own voice." But once you're getting comfortable in your own skin, you can do way more because, when you can do those special characters or anime or whatever voices is great, but if you can't follow up or emote when they're sad, happy, whatever range you may be,
Mhm.
you're gonna find yourself short-sighted, so it's very important to invest in those acting classes.
Yeah.
So, which leads to, as a beginning going into this field, what equipment or should I get equipment when we first start out? Should we focus more on that education? Or if we do get that equipment, what's the best thing to start with, like microphones, interfaces? What
Mhm.
would be the best route?
It's a polarizing question whenever it's brought up concerning this particular model, but I'm on the side that says it's okay to get, a Blue Yeti for your starting microphone, mainly because it does everything as far as interface and a courtyard microphone, which you'll learn later when we talk about it later, I'm sure, compressed into one little small little package, which is USB. And then as far as, audio interfaces, editing software, everyone Audacity, the free, online one, is probably the best way. Save some money
Ye
there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with Audacity. That was, like, for the longest time until I could actually afford software, that was, like it still is the go-to just 'cause, it's simple, it's effective. In terms of gear, yeah, the Blue Yeti is a good start. One of the ones I also used, it was the Samson CO1U was a great, affordable microphone, but, large diaphragm, good capsule size, or like the AT2020 USB, or one I just found, which I'm using as kind of like my backup if I'm on the road. Ironically enough, is the Rode NT USB.
Nice.
For the road.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely, beginner equipment. I've said this in the last panel I spoke to. You treat this like you're playing a role-playing game. You wanna start out with the starters. You don't wanna jump in, spend thousands and thousands of dollars on equipment that you're potentially not ready for. Not saying it does diminish you as an actor, but you wanna start out somewhere that's gonna be affordable, that's good for you, and as you go through your journey, you get the bigger and better stuff. Like I said, Rode, NT1 is great microphone. Most of the USB microphones today, which are condenser microphones, you're gonna hear that a lot, like these condenser microphones are for
Mhm.
voice acting. Most of the USB ones are great, and especially when you're starting out, and as you progress, then you get the interfaces with the XLR cables, and you get more and more into those techniques. And like I said, Audacity is great too. It's a great free software. Don't have to kill yourself. The idea is to use what you have and progress. So, with that in mind, as we're doing this acting stuff, what are some stuff you can do to take care of your voice without straining? Because as much as we like to do all this yelling and emoting, what are some techniques or remedies we can use to keep us from, giving out and sounding like a dead frog?
I don't talk for a while. Um, honestly, yeah, it is that's one, just, after a long time of yelling, I don't talk. I usually drink, tea without any sugar, and nothing abrasive, just liquids, just keep your throat hydrated and, take it easy for a while.
Kinda the same for me 'cause yeah, the big number one thing to do, just pay attention to your body, understand how it works. If you know when it's straining or you know when it's about to give out, listen, don't try to push yourself. The second big thing is, like you said, tea and honey is, like, another great one. Um, Specifically, try to go herbal teas. The more caffeinated a tea is, the more it's gonna dry your throat out, and that's going to make things a lot worse, over time, like, while you're doing these things. So, like, maybe don't go any higher than a green, and if you do, definitely add honey to that.
Mhm.
And lastly, if you're gonna use, like, cough drops or anything, use something that doesn't have menthol in it. Personally, when I saw a vocal, therapist, he recommended Ludens just because, they don't have it in there and they're very good for just, like, kinda soothing any issues you have without drying it out any further.
And I could agree with that, especially when you guys start to land your roles. It's good to understand how your voice works. What are your limits? Usually, personally, before a session, I do like usually the day before. I try to stay away from any big sugars. I just stay with water. If I feel I'm gonna have a big session, again, knowing your limits, having that water handy. You're gonna probably hear the word green apples a million and one times. It does help with saliva, all those little mouth clicks you do, which is not the end of the world, but anything that can help minimize that. And very importantly, if you feel that your voice is starting to strain, it's okay to step away, step back, because if you continue, it can give you can have reparable damage and sometimes even can repair it. So it's good to take care of your instrument because nothing worse than like doing something and you can't act for a few weeks because
Mhm.
you want to go above and beyond. It's okay to step back. Which kind of leads to next point, which is on here, but I'm going to bring up. As you progress, demos are important. These are a calling cards, if you say. Is it necessary to have one right at the gate when you're starting? Can you book without demos?
I'm kind of cheating because, like you said, I went to school, and that was part of the deal is that I got my own personal demo made, so right out the box, I already had a professional one made.
Mhm.
But do I really think have I made landed jobs without even using it? Yes, I have. So, you know, probably I think you could be able to, but when you're actually trying to sell yourself, you're gonna absolutely need to have a professional demo in.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely one of those things where, like, more often than not, yes, just do not go getting one right away. Make sure you kinda get the practice, get the experience in before you record it, because it is definitely doable to like you said, or like Chris said, you can get roles without demos at all. It's mostly just focusing on the auditions. But when it comes to auditioning yourself, demos are pretty much on the forefront of, like, showing your image, showcasing what you can do. So don't feel like you have to rush into it because a premature demo can sometimes be just as bad as a less than stellar audition.
Absolutely. When you guys do go for your demos or you're ready, definitely go to a sound engineer that is looking out for your best interests. There are unfortunately some of them out there who just want to take, just get out there and not really focus on your quality. A good and one of the interests will let you know it's like, hey, you're just not ready for a demo just yet because again, you want to present your best self out there because people want to hear your best self, what you're capable of. Your demo doesn't have everything what you can do, but it just showcased a talent and potentially get you more work. Um, and this next question, uh, kind of leans into that. How long did it take you to land your first role? Now, this can be, back and forth, but from your experiences,
Mhm.
it could be paid, unpaid. Like, how long did it take land your first role?
I want to say it took me about maybe 9 months to a year to land one. I got to do an NPC screaming voices for Payday 2, which I still love playing. So yeah, probably around that time, about 9 months, 9 months to a year.
I think I was pretty fortunate because I think I got mine in about 2 or 3 months when I started pursuing it. It was for something called Meister High. Although, to be fair, it has yet to be released 5 years later. So take that as you will. And that's okay. Sometimes things you get, they might not come out. And that's perfectly fine if it happens.
If I can remember, my first role was something for YouTube, stick figure animation. Good luck finding it because I don't remember the name of it. And it was an unpaid role I did with a Panasonic microphone, those ones for the office meetings. That had no type of sound, something, whatever. But it leads to the fact that, like, hey, I went to school for acting, so I was like, hey, let me try this out. And again, I had no idea what proofing or anything else to do. I just did it just to do it. And, it was a great feeling because it's like, "Hey, I can do this. Let me know more about what I could do." So and a very important thing I want to you guys, don't worry about needing to land a role right away. Um, Everyone's journey is different. So someone might get it in 2 weeks, someone might get it in 2 months. Just never compare yourself to other actors out there because each of your journey is your own, and something that's for someone else might not be for you, but vice versa. Because there will always be auditions out there. And with that in mind, what was your favorite role to play so far in your journey? Yeah, anything, podcasts, video games, like, what was your favorite thing to do?
I'm trying to think this again.
And you
I'm
with the
trying.
hard questions, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they're all my characters. They're like your children. You don't want to pick with. That's my good son. Honestly, well, it goes back. You were asking what characters do you play in games? I voiced the character of Foxy in Five Nights and Freddy's for about 3 games,
You're
and
Foxy?
yeah.
Yes. He's my favorite. Foxy's my favorite.
So I get a lot of clout for that one there. So yeah. So I being that's been really fun.
Now, because my teacher, he's, Andy Field, he does the,
Oh my
yeah,
god.
he's one of my first professors, so, like,
That is awesome. I'm gonna tell him now. Oh no, it seems you have the wrong person as your teacher. So
exotic butters all around.
exactly.
And what about you, Grant?
Um, oddly enough, I think I'm kind of torn, honestly, between it. It probably is like a couple of the later ones that came out. I was talking to you both earlier. I was in a game called While We Wait Here. I played a
Yeah.
character named Cliff. He's one of the playable protagonists of this psychological horror game. Um, and I think one of the reasons that was one of my favorites because that was probably like the most challenging one I've had to do because that was one, it was my first lead in a project, and two, he's a very quiet, understated character, so it's more about trying to find the subtleties of that kind of role, and I
Mhm.
love the work it made me kinda, like, have to put into it, 'cause, I always wanna grow, and then the other one, I was just in a fighting game called, Blazing Strike. I,
Ooh.
played this little robot
Ooh.
boy named Zero, and,
Oh,
it's
that's
just it was so fun to play him just 'cause, he's this little tiny geek bot, and it's just I got so into it, I was, like, throwing improvised lines, which is like, "Hey, look,
oh,
if you wanna put these in the game, just toss them in, I'm more than happy to do these, I'm just having such a good time here."
that's
For
awesome.
me, I was torn between. It was, one is from an animation I did with, Bleacher Report. It was a series called The Portal, which was like, what if these 2 basketball players played against each other? And I was like one of the, sports announcers, the really eccentric one, like, think of NBA Jam because I love doing stuff like that. And then the other one was more recent, was for World War Z Aftermath, the new expansion. So I got to
Ooh.
play a lead one of the lead survivors, which was mind-boggling 'cause never did a console game before. I'd done, like, a lot of PC. I was like, "Oh." And just hearing it on YouTube and I was like, This is me? It doesn't seem real. It doesn't feel real." So it was a nice experience for that. Which, leads to my next question. It's a two-parter, actually.
Huh?
Uh Do you think it's necessary to have an agent to find work at all?
That's a loaded question. It it's good to have, but it's not a necessity, if that makes sense. I mean, yes, you can still find work. Um, I mean, the agent's job is just to find you auditions, get you auditions. It's your job to to actually land the job. So,
Yeah, pretty much what Chris said is they give you a lot more opportunities,
mhm,
but, like, I just recently got, signed on earlier this year and, they gave me a lot of work, but most of the stuff I've landed has been looking through other avenues of doing auditions through those. Um, so yeah, great opportunities, it's just you're kinda put into a much bigger pool, so it can be kind of intimidating for people as well as, when people hear that, plus 10% fee. Oh no. Although thankfully most places they'll cover that fee as well. So they'll throw in that bonus to make sure that you're not losing anything out of your paycheck. So
yeah,
that's a good thing at least.
Oh, yeah, correct. Because like, 10%, depending how much it is, like, even when they take it's, like, very small. It's not too crazy unless you're doing, like, tens
Mhm.
of thousands of dollars. Like, "Hey, kinda need that money." But yeah, to that point, like, yeah, an agent is not super necessary for you to find work. Most of the work I do on my own, but they do help find you those bigger stuff you wouldn't find your own, like those big commercial spots. Sometimes these bigger games. There's like through unions and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Which leads to my next question. What are the pros and cons of having an agent?
Pros. Well, the pros, you find the really better you find the better jobs. The cons, well, I know as far as city to city, you're only supposed to have one agent per whatever city you work in. The other pro, then you can have multiple agents. You can have a New York agent, you have a LA agent, although most agencies prefer your local talent, but that is an avenue you can do. That's a pro. But like I said, whatever city agent you get in that city, that's pretty much the one you're stuck with, unless you find someone else.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of interesting just seeing like how, you can kind of be locked into that. Um, and as I said, the fee thing, not much of a problem, but it can suck when they won't pony up or when the client won't, pay cover that extra fee for you. And sometimes, depending on the agency, it can go a little bit higher than 10%. Like I know some where they go about as high as 20%, depending on either the project or your union status. So that can have a small effect as there. And um, but still, I think, like I said, the fact that most that's covered, it shouldn't have to be worried about. And the opportunities they bring out are all really fantastic. So as you said, Marquise, not it's not the end all be all. It's a source of great opportunity, but you don't have to worry about it if you don't have one.
That's correct. Which actually leads to the next question. If you guys are, I'm not sure if you guys are SAG members or not with AFTRA, but if so, what does SAG AFTRA do for voice actors, and should you join?
Am not. I'm still non-union. SAG after obviously, you get into the union. That's again, you can get to those really good union jobs, which pay a lot more, and the bigger AAA title games. The con of it is, you're stuck working as far as that union. Technically, you're not supposed to take on non-union jobs anymore once you become SAG after. So that's where some people refer to just staying on union or SAG eligible and not pay the fee yet to join until they think they're actually ready to actually just stay on and be a contracted union. So
Yeah, it's kind of like when you get the agency. SAG opens up a lot of opportunities, but it closes some doors as well. So it's one of those things where once again, kind of like the demo, think of it as you got to establish yourself a bit first before taking it on. I'd recommend that. I mean, I'm non-union as well, but I've seen how this can kind of affect, or I've seen how this affected some of my, colleagues and stuff like that. Where like they're kind of forced to either go in once they've done oh so many SAG projects, being eligible or things like that. Um, Another way that people, have kind of gotten, to be able to do both, although I recommend, weighing your options first, is there's something called FICOR, which is you get the accessibility of both SAG and non-union projects, but the problem is one, you don't get access to their benefits, and two, you have to be aware that you cannot advertise yourself as a SAG member either. So it's one of those, you have three options, each have their pros and cons, and it's one of those things where you have to kind of look at where you're at, look at what you do, and just kind of weigh them to see what works best for you.
Yeah, because you like you said, is what works best for you. To touch more on FICOR, is pretty much it enables you to do the union and non-union stuff. But like you said, you don't get any SAG benefits, which means you can't vote on certain actions. Like right now, they're doing the whole strike thing. There are pros and cons. At the end of the day, if you choose to do either of those unions, do what's best for you. And I'll just leave it at that.
mhm. Yeah.
Which our next question, oh, we kind of covered this, the roles, references. Oh, actually, we can touch on this. Because we discussed like how you get your roles today,
Mhm.
whether it be like social media or doing vetting. Was it through job postings, cold calling? What was the most successful avenues that worked for you guys?
My most honestly, I've tried all of them. People don't really. It's I get all the questions that are like I'm not big fans of pay-to-play sites like Voices.com or Voice123. But my FNAF games auditions, jobs that I got came from being a member of a pay-to-play site, Voices.com. But the Class of '09 series that I actually got that through a Twitter advertisement. So I basically auditioned through Twitter and got the job through there. I've also gotten jobs over through Casting Call Club. So pretty much any avenue could really work if you stay focused on that particular one and worth the grind.
Yeah, like it is shocking how much like social media has opened up these opportunities. Like I didn't even realize how much it affected until I, started actively pursuing it. Yeah, Twitter has been a big one for me. As you mentioned, Casting Call Club. What else? Discord itself has had a
Mhm.
few, like the Voice Acting Club, really great source of projects. It's run by Kira Buckland, a legend in the
Yes.
business. 2B from Near Automata, um, which is also like a great site for resources for those who want to learn about things as well. Um, for the pay to play sites, like you mentioned, voices123.com. Another big one is Playbill, I think, if I remember it.
Yeah,
Or
I
Backstage,
think
Backstage.
actually,
Sorry,
yes, it's doing that or
backstage.com.
nine. Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah. So, and yeah, thankfully, like I said, because, or as also Chris mentioned, thanks to social media, you don't need to focus on those pay to play sites as much. Like, there are so many, like, as I said, Twitter, Discord, all these places, all still offer so many high paying jobs. And probably my best avenue, though, um, just building a good relationship with some of the, recording companies or the localization companies. Once they got introduced to me, once I did a couple projects, they kind of just kept bringing me back and, for other projects that were going on.
Mhm.
And they've probably been the most consistent for me. So, yeah, if you also get into one of these rosters or anything like that, keep a good impression. That will also keep bringing you good work.
Ab Absolutely, social media has exploded in a couple of years, so it's much easier or accessible to find stuff. Most of my stuff, I forgot the thing is, they retweeted on Twitter. I think it's VT Castings. Found through that. Instagram, some stuff on TikTok I found. Social media is wide, and it's amazing what you can find. But also you have to vet to make sure, is this stuff legit? Are
Mhm.
they gonna pay me fairly? Is it something that's my worth to doing? Because again, I'm all for, unpaid work. If I love to do it, I'll do it. It doesn't bother me. As long as they're upfront about it, it's like, hey, this is a passion project. I like your stuff, then go for it. Same thing with the pay stuff. It's like, hey, we want you to do this awesome animation. Okay, cool. But we only can pay you $5. Weigh your options,
For
because that's
the
as far
$5 for 1,000 lines. Yeah, no.
for 1,000 lines, no. We're not gonna do that, and we'll talk about, a little bit about knowing what's okay, what the rates are later, um, in the thing. I'm seeing how much. Okay, we got a half hour, so we're still good.
Yeah.
See, where's the next question? I lost my page. Alright, so here's a question that does come up sometimes. What does it mean to have range, or how do you expand it?
Is that like vocal range?
Yeah, so that's where we're getting at, like,
So,
how do you expand your vocal range?
that's basically, what your pipes are and any vocal training. I mean, I have a, I have a, I've actually clocked it. I've done it on the notes on the piano. I like 3 to 3.5 octave range. So, so I have the really up here, and then I have the really one down here. So now as far as how do you expand that range, that's something for a vocal coach to help you with. I'm not a vocal coach, so I'm not going to be able to answer that one.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty much that, like just showing like the ideas of pitch. You know, is your voice a bit more airy, or maybe it's a bit more gruff like this? Being able to kind of go on the fly to adjust like range, texture, timbre, pitch, all these sorts of things. Um, that's probably one of the big ones for what we consider range, as well as on the side. There's also emotional range in terms of like what could you convey, but. Like you said it was mostly vocal range you're talking about.
It just said range in general, so it could be vocal, emotional,
Price
like,
range?
Yeah.
yeah, price range. Hey, my price range is up here if you, like, gonna pay me good.
Yes. I operate the sliding scale. But yeah, so like all those things, like I said, like the type of voice you can do, the type of emotions you can do, the kind of characters you can do. All these things factor into the range that is possible for an actor.
And all this comes with time. Like, as you start discovering, okay, I don't like my voice, to like, wow, I love my voice. I can do that. Wait, I can talk in this subtlety without having to yell at the top of my lungs. Oh, this is my morning voice. So this is my customer service voice. It's me just talking. It's like it's such a spectrum of what you can do, and you'll be surprised what ranges you can bring forth. And you'll start to discover stuff you didn't know you can do, and you can put that into your wheelhouse. And that's why I say like everybody's journey is different. You don't know what you can do once you start going down this, and it's amazing. And you'll find yourself just sitting there like, huh, neat. Okay. I think that next question tied in, which was still tied into it. What does it mean to describe your voice, and how would you describe your voice to potential clients?
That's
And
what
I
I was
think,
getting hung up on. Yeah.
yeah, I think this more ties into like, again, what's your range? So it's like, oh, if I'm speaking right now, as much as I don't look like it, my voice goes for like, young adult to early teen. Uh, I can be what I've excel as is very eccentric. I can be very eccentric, in your face, sassy, or I can be very scared, like a nervous wreck, depending on what my stuff is, and those where I do well. So each person has a comfortable warehouse they can go to. Like you said, I forgot names. I am apologize.
Uh,
Chris, sorry.
yeah.
When you was doing Foxy, were a lot of clients looking for something within that pool? When you were, doing more work?
Yeah, they kept they wanted the gruff voice out of me. They wanted that. They wanted a lot of grit and gravel in them.
And that felt natural to you? You didn't feel like you were, straining or, like, pulling stuff as you were.
It depends. If I'm trying to yell while I'm doing that guttural sound, yeah, it does start to hurt. So, but that calm one, no, that doesn't.
Yeah, I think for me, it's thinking of the things like a lot of times I'll ask, yeah, for like age and pitch. So like
Mhm,
me, I'm kind of more of a medium.
mhm,
So I can go that medium high, that medium low,
mhm.
depending. I can sound like a bit more youthful, maybe. Probably like a young adult. Then maybe go to something a little bit more middle age, a little more. Got a little work, not quite worse for wear, but they got some stuff going on.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, think about like age and pitch are I'd say like the two big things when you're kind of talking about yourself. Or if you need some example, not sure how to say it, look at some other voice actors. Think about how they present themselves to the people you feel close to, and kind of use that as a little inspiration for how you can advertise yourself as well in that
And,
range.
like, definitely, and, don't worry, and this once again, comfortable with your voice, because as much as I like to do a deep Tony J type voice, for those who don't know, he was, Count Frollo from Hunchback Notre Dame. I love his voice, it was such resonant.
Charming man.
I cannot do that for the life of me. I can't. But what I sell at is very squeaky, high-pitched voices that are annoying as SpongeBob levels. That's what I'm good at. I'm not gonna do it now, but it's knowing what your range is and then using it to your advantage. So never be upset, it's like something you can do. You can learn it over time, but it's always good to be comfortable in your wheelhouse. So for the next question, what we got? I keep losing this page. I need 2 monitors like crazy.
It does help.
I know, right? On my gaming rig I have, but not
Oh,
here.
oh yeah.
Okay, so what are some qualities you need to be a successful voice actor? I know one quality. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah,
It's plain
yeah,
as that is the
yeah.
number 1.
That's
Don't
gonna
be an
bleed
asshole.
into the next question, actually. 'Cause I've got to listen here also. Patience. I think that's the big one. Is
Yes.
patience. Because it is a long process, so not only with the auditioning, with your editing, and then your marketing, and waiting to find out if you got it or not. Yeah, a lot of patience needed.
It is a long game, guys. It is a journey. You will audition and audition, audition, and what makes professionals, stand out than, I'll say, beginners is that they have failed at more auditions than you have, and it's not saying it's a bad thing, but you have to do it, and you can be going months, nothing happened, and then boom, you get something that you don't even remember auditioning for. So it is a long game, and if you have the patience and the wherewithal and you love what you're doing, it's gonna feel like nothing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just humility, patience are the 2 big things. Also being able to take direction well is another big one. You know,
Mhm,
being able to understand when a director wants you to change a performance. Um, because that is something I've kinda learned the hard way, in college when I tried to do, like, regular acting, which not as successful as voice acting for me.
mhm,
But, one of the things it took me a while to realize, like, okay, I need to really hone in on what they're telling me to do so I can really adjust to that. And lastly, yeah, just be someone who's willing to hone that acting skill. And sometimes you don't even need to worry about the range. Just if you have that one voice, if you do it really well, that can also take you really dang far.
Yeah, look at, I forgot his first name, Benjamin, he does Bob's Burgers. He has
mhm.
the one voice that everyone loves. He doesn't do anything different.
He's Archer,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, Archer, like, you know it is, but, like, no matter what character he does, you can already tap into his emotional range even though it's the same voice.
Mhm,
So, don't worry about doing a million and one things. Hone what you're good at, and also, to back to the direction, please, please, I implore you, take that direction. Them giving you different directions is not an insult of your acting. It's what they just want to know what you can do, and if you are willing to give into that direction, you'll be surprised how many doors that can open for you. So,
that's their
always
job.
yeah. Oh, please open, be that's they call it director for a reason. I think we covered this one, but I'll ask anyway. What are the different types of voiceover projects that are available?
That are available, it's
Yeah.
cornucopia, man.
Yeah.
I mean, uh, audiobooks for one. I don't actually do audiobooks 'cause I don't have the patience. I've tried. It's just not my avenue. But there's that. There's commercials. There's explainer videos. There's radio commercials, TV commercials. There's video games. There's anime. There's YouTube videos. It's everywhere.
Yeah. And pretty much you nailed them all on the head. Those are all the main avenues. And I think the only way it could go further is understanding that even some of these other things, like animation, for example, they even have their own little subsections, like either doing like dubbing or doing just kind of like the wild take kind, where you can go hog wild and have the freedom to express, versus the dubbing, where it's make sure you are going along the lines and timing that you're given. Um, but yeah, all those things that you mentioned, yeah, it is a wide, wide net of what you can do. So you will not be starved for choice when you're trying to look for a project.
Yeah, voiceover is everywhere, and I commend those who love audiobooks. I commend you really. You to have the patience to work with all the editing. I commend you guys. I tried it like 2 or 3 times. I could not do it anymore. But, like I said, voice acting is everywhere, from the toys, from the speakers you hear at the train, it is everywhere. Anywhere you hear a voice, there is potential work, so no stress of ever finding the work, just finding the clients.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we already touched on this. What's the best way to burn bridges with a client? Again, being an asshole. You don't wanna be that.
Break a non-disclosure agreement.
Yes, please. NDAs are there for a reason. That means when you sign it, as much as you wanna talk about being this big AAA game you want to be, keep your trap shut. Don't say anything. Don't even vaguely tweet about it.
I learned that the hard way.
Eh,
I
don't
vaguely
don't
tweet on one. No.
don't even do so because people are smart. And trust me, people are smart. Don't even take a picture in a booth if you're gonna do this, because people will find what booth you were in and what thing and say, "Oh, he's in this and that and that." No, keep your trap shut. Any NDA you sign, like if you really need to tell somebody, look in the mirror and tell yourself. That's it. That's the best thing to do. Uh, Other ways to get about on a client side, be professional. Show up on time. if you're scheduled to be at 1 o'clock, make sure you get the right time zones, obviously, because I've been at fault with that before. Uh, Show up on time, be professional. If you're gonna be late, send a message, something. Don't just stay in the dark. Uh, Make sure like your equipment's ready, good to go. We troubleshoot things. They give you some leeway, but it's like this isn't a professional job at the end of the day. Don't matter if it's for an indie project or like a commercial for Disney. You want to be professional, courteous, on time because when you are, the more likely they want to work with you. And be respectful to the casting directors and whoever you are. You don't want to mouth off anybody or say something, underminded or whatever. I can't think of the word right
Right.
now.
Yeah.
Sketchy.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, you're right that like VO drama on Twitter, for example, it's the internet. When it's up there, it never disappears.
Mhm.
So, yeah, even just next to the client, just try and be nice everywhere you go. You don't know how being either disrespectful or being, mouthing off like that can, bite you in the long run.
Mhm.
On the topic of don't show up late, also don't send materials late if you are a remote actor. Um, be as on time with that as
Mhm.
possible. Don't quit a project without good cause, especially if it's last minute. We saw what happened with Joaquin Phoenix in that movie lately. He's kind of burned some bridges there by
Oh boy.
quitting a week before started filming. Um, and lastly, the other one I can think of, don't lie about stuff. Don't lie about a credit that you haven't done. Don't lie, especially don't lie about either race or ethnicity to try and get a part.
Mhm.
I've seen some people do that, and they are never going to get work for doing something like that. Um, God. On the top of the line one, the one I remember hearing about was Tony Oliver telling me how when he was meeting up with someone in a booth, the guy lied about a credit, which was the role that Tony Oliver played.
Oh,
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, he's like,
Awkward.
yeah, it's like, so what do you do? He's like, I'm a voice actor. Oh, what role? He's like, oh, it's Rick Hunter in Robotech. And I don't think that guy got work ever again.
If you're gonna lie, at least know who you're
at least
lying.
know, educate on what you're lying to.
Jeez.
So
But
yeah.
yeah, we should have a 10 commandments for voice.
Yes.
So pretty much, don't lie, don't steal other people's materials, don't be an asshole. Be a general nice human being. Be on time, be courteous, be professional. Because at the end of the day, it's a job. Time is money. But at the same time, we want to have fun. But you can spoil that fun for again being an asshole.
Mhm.
So don't do it. I'm gonna put that as a tagline somewhere.
Yes.
Voice
VA
actor
101. Don't
101.
be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole. All right. Well, I think we already covered this, but I'll ask it anyway. What was the single best piece of advice you received from someone in regards to voice acting?
Yeah, yeah, we did. It's not a race; it's a marathon.
Mhm.
That is the best way to explain it. To be in there for the grind.
Hmm. That
Like
is the big one. Yeah.
Yep. It's a marathon, not a race. As much as we love to make oodles and oodles of cash, oh god, oodles and oodles of cash just sitting here and doing a booth. Just say one word, hi, and get paid $1,000,000. It is a marathon. There is a certain passion to it. You have to do it. And it's understandable. Some people just want to do it as a hobby, which is fine. People love their hobbies. I like building Legos on my spare time too. But, whether you're a hobbyist or whatever profession you want to be, you got to have a passion for it and understand that, take your time with it. It will come to you. You just have to be patient
Yeah. I think there's only
and
two
not.
other things. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
you first.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. There's only two other bits I've been taught or good advice I heard. One, if you're going to invest in gear, if you're going to invest in good sound treatment first before a good mic.
Yes.
Um, Good sound treatment will make almost any mic sound good. A good mic is going to really emphasize those problems if your room's not properly treated.
mm,
Um, and the third piece I've been taught, never mess with the microphone in a recording booth. Let the engineer do that.
don't touch the mic.
I heard
Yeah.
stories of that. So don't touch them. That should be a big sign in their thing. Don't touch the mic. Let's get back on track. Okay. What would you tell your younger self about voice acting? And I think
I would
we
have told him to do it sooner.
fair.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Sorry on that one.
I think I'd also remind myself about the "it's a marathon, not a race" thing that you said earlier, because I was not the most patient kid growing up.
I want that role now.
I would say don't spend oodles of cash on something you don't need just yet. Um, I'm glad I have it, but it was not say unnecessary, but an unnecessary expense to do with something I didn't need immediately when starting this. So, you know, be mindful, know your budget. Um, again, don't need to spend $20,000 on a microphone when your space is equivalent to a subway bathroom. So it's not the greatest. Trust me when we say this. If you put a big mic in a place, it's going to pick up everything,
Uh-huh.
everything. All right, and oh yeah, we got about 15 minutes. Okay, cool. Oh, what are some resources you would recommend to newcomers?
I always point people to this website because I love it. I've actually used it sometimes myself for resources. I want to be a voiceactor.com.
Yes,
Yes. Everyone agrees. D. Bradley
that
Baker.
yes. Awesome site. D. Bradley Baker, if you don't know him, he does a lot from creature stories, noises to I love him from Klaus from American Dad. He kills it every time. Amazing guy. That is a one resource we can definitely 100% remix. So from myths to where to start. Pretty much most of the stuff we've been covering here. It's a great website. We'll put in the chat later today. As for resources, obviously here, CasaCon, we do this every year. Any free resource is good resource. You know, whether it's stuff you already know or you need to brush up on. Here, the VAC Discord, I'll put it in here as well. They'll have some resources where it's like from indie rates to what should I charge a client, like what's the best rates to do. Talking to colleagues and stuff like that, because 'cause you'll be amazed what you can find that's gonna help you in your journey.
Buddies of mine who've been in this business longer than I have, they always kind of point me to the right direction in terms of like where to go in terms of like, yeah, materials, classes, things like that. The other one I think I'd recommend, check out the book Voice Over Voice Artist by Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt. They're also legends in the business. Yuri's Ben 10, Spider-Man, and the PlayStation games. Tara's his wife, who's also been in just so many projects, also the Spider-Man games, as ironically enough, a character named Yuri. I had to talk to them about that once. Um, but it gives such a great breakdown of like how they approach things and how you can approach stuff as well. And it's just a good book. So and they also recently updated it for like other formats given how times have changed. So check it out if you can. It's a good read and a good resource.
You mentioned rates. I also recommend the Global Voice Acting Alliance rate guide, GVAA. I don't have the web link right now, but that's a good one to get a good understanding of rates for particular types of jobs.
Definitely. So, that rate guy works well, especially when you're vetting your own for bigger, commercial work, animation. It breaks down everything. I'll post it in here, in a few. Another one, VAC, Voice Actor Club, has their indie rate guides as well. So working on, any smaller projects, what's the best suggested? It's not the end all be all, but it gives you a good range rate, so you're not underselling yourself, because that's the worst thing, to do a lot of work and only getting paid like 50 cents for it.
Mhm.
It's not fun. Definitely know your worth. We still got 10 minutes, but there's a question I would like to bring up as well. What are your opinions? Because it's becoming an inevitable landscape. What are your opinions on the AI that is not taking over the space, but is becoming more prevalent in the space?
That's kind of hard because I'm pretty pro First Amendment, but yet at the same time, this does kind of I don't like hearing my voice being used through a computer and not getting any compensation for it, which I've heard. I've heard plenty of Foxy AI stuff. It's fun.
Yeah, it is worrisome. I have my issues with it. Like for as you said, I don't like the idea of how it can be used to create things we don't want to hear, making it seem like we said things that we would never say, nor would we want to say. It's not to say that there aren't times it can't be used. There are some accessibility cases, like case in point, Top Gun Maverick was a great example of how I
Yeah.
thought they used it ethically. Because Val Kilmer, he's lost most of the use of his voice. And they used AI to get his dialogue in there for the character, which was very fitting given he dealt with esophageal cancer. And that was a great case, or even a case of like Now and Then by the Beatles, the newest single they released earlier this year, where they already had the audio there of John Lennon singing, but they just had to use it to separate the vocals from the piano that was being used. So those cases I think are more than acceptable, but in terms of like the general use of AI, it's unfortunate seeing people, have their voice and likeness kind of get ripped off when in situations that either A kind of take them out of work or the other reasons I mentioned before.
Mhm.
And, some voice actors just talk to them. They might even be able to just do the stuff for you if it's like a small little bit or anything like that. Some voice actors, they do enjoy doing, like these fun little moments.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I bet to say, like, I don't know the people who do, but, like, any work is work as long as you're having fun. Shouldn't be at a case where I take without permission. That's a big thing. So, if you any at all, just ask. You'll be surprised, especially these clients. Like, "Hey, I'd like someone to do this, but I don't know where to find them." "Hey, Johnny knows how to do, Daffy Duck really well. Talk to him. You don't know. See what
Yeah.
happens." It just comes down to that.
Yeah.
And it is still like, if I wish we had where's Melissa? Oh, she's in here.
She's
I didn't
hiding down
realize she
there.
was in here.
I
She's
saw.
gone. I was like, I know she will know it better than I do. I didn't realize she joined, but she has great stuff on it, so if you can drop one if you can hear me, you can drop
Yo.
something to help, that'll be great. But, we have about 5 minutes, so let's see any questions we have in the chat we could use.
That's Sean.
Scrolling up. Oh, a bunch of you have been having conversations. Hope you weren't talking bad about us.
I hope not. They know.
Uh, let's see. I'm just trying to scroll up to see what we got.
They know my Twitter secret.
I think we covered it, but it's from Bonnie S. Are there specific side projects, labors of love, or organizations you voice act for that kind of shows your range or identity or help with the branding?
Actually, I have one recurring client that keeps coming back. I'm now blanking on the name of the company, but they do tabletop games. And they always have to do a Kickstarter video, and they always hire me to do it, and I'm always doing their opening cinematics, and I get to do it in a world where everything is growing strange. I get to do that, and it's really
I wish
nice.
I can do that. I can't do deep voice because it's like it just dies out. I can't do deep voices.
It came with age, honestly. Yeah.
I'm 36 and it still hasn't dropped yet. Forever a child.
I get that. When I get excited, my voice goes really, really high, and then I can never bring it back down. So I'm just really relaxed right now.
Oof. Let me see. Specific projects. I'm trying to think because it's one of those things where I just kind of take the opportunities as they come. If I see the projects and, they ask for what they're looking for, it's like, okay, I'll try and audition for, what's something that can sell my higher youthful voice, what's something that can sell my lower, gruffier older voice. Um, but it's one of those things where like, okay, so you mentioned how like you're looking for work for like ocean and forest conservation stuff. Um, it's basically just try and look for maybe like PSAs or anything like that, something that can showcase that's what you want to go for, that's what you want to do. There's always a lot of additional projects out there where they need these kind of things, or even then, just make your own little demos or samples. Because sometimes, as long as they can see your examples of what you want to do for this, that's also another way to kind of get your foot in the door, depending on who you're sending these to.
Oh, yeah, definitely showcase your work, what you can do. As much as we see, like, someone doing skits and stuff, do so. I do suggest, though, if you're doing fan dubs of anime and stuff like that, use an alias. I've This is hearsay, stuff like that, but just in case, you don't want it to come back to you, it's like, "Oh, we don't want you to be in this project." Again, I'm not too big in the anime scene, but it's just what I heard from other colleagues. If you do fan animation, use an alias. Um,
Don't put it on your resume.
yes, that too. Trying to see any other questions. I think we covered this, but I'll read it for Mr. Purple. Haha, Five Nights at Freddy's, yes. Any major thing anyone wished they knew when they started voice acting? Whether it's like a green flag, red flag.
You first. I'm still trying to formulate mine.
I am too.
Oh,
Not really, I guess. Yeah, I'm just gonna no.
I wish they told me how I could make makeshift recording areas. Like that's one of the things because when I mentioned that whole thing about having a good recording space, and you don't need to have a fancy booth either. Like when I
It's
first
awesome.
started out, people mentioned the ideas like you have a PVC booth where it's just like pipes and acoustic blankets surrounding you, and that does so much for so little. Or when I converted a closet, someone dumb me, mounted the acoustic foam straight to the walls, and as a renter, not the best idea. And they were
Oof.
just like, "Why didn't you just put it on a like piece of like board and then mount the board to the wall?" It's just like I
Well,
overthought this.
Yeah, just make your space your own and you learn as you do. Like any profession you do, whether it's sports, teaching, whatever, you learn as you go. As for space, I'm underneath my bed, and it's been working wonders for me. So, hey, you go.
to midnight.
Ha 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 ha.
Potential. I've got a heart for Iron Maidens, the Ramones, and AC/DC.
Nice, nice, nice.
I am a huge Queen fan. Give me an excuse to sing Freddie Mercury, and I'm having a good day.
Nice.
Uh, it would be Gorillaz, Daft Punk, MF
Yeah.
Doom. Those are my top 3.
Yes.
Those are my top 3.